Okay, this video is going to be talking briefly about building codes because mainly in this class I want to introduce you to them so that you kind of know they're out there. Um, and what they are is basically the law on how to build buildings. Okay, and pretty much all through America we go with the International Building Code, and then as a subset of that, there's the International Residential Code, which deals with residential buildings. But now each municipality can add to or subtract from the uh, the IRC. Okay, and they do this based on what's important for their location because in Miami they're more concerned with hurricanes than they are snow loads, whereas in Montana they're more concerned with snow load than they are hurricanes. And then of course California, you've got earthquakes and things like that. So each area of the country can add to or subtract away from the International Building Code. Okay. Um, the main purpose of the building code is to protect human life, in that we build buildings that are safe to inhabit. And if you notice this example here, this building fell over. And if I remember right, um, I want to say it was in China. I may be wrong on that. It may be Eastern Europe. But what happened is they were excavating next to the building to build another building, and they excavated enough soil that the soil under this building gave way, and the whole building just toppled over. Um, the building code is divided into these five main areas. There are other things too, but they deal with these particular topics. Okay. Um, Buildings are classified two different ways. One on their occupancy, what is the intended use of the building? Okay, and it has the A, B, E, F, H, I, stuff like that. And then residential, you've got R1, R2, R3, and R4. Okay, so you've got occupancy type, which is the letter designation, and then there's type of construction. Uh, Types 1 and 2, which are very similar. I can't remember the difference in between them there. But this deals with mainly is the building fireproof? Is it non-combustible? Okay. Type 4 is heavy timber construction. Type 5 is any material. So most houses are going to be a Type 5 type of construction. Okay. Now within the building code itself, there's going to be lots of charts and tables and very confusing things that will set forth how you can build a building, what size the building can be based on the occupancy and the type of construction. So here we have one sample chart of building heights and areas. And so if we look at this, okay, within the type A assemblies, and the subdivision is more about what type of assembly type building it is. Um, and then we have the height in feet, or the height of the area of the floors. So a type 1 A and B deals with sprinkler system and things like that. So for an assembly of type 1 construction A, it's unlimited. It can be as many floors or as much area as wanted. Whereas if we come over here to type 5 construction, which was the any materials utilized, uh, it can either be 1 or 2 stories, or 5,500 or 11,500 square feet per floor. So there are limits based on the type of construction. This is just one chart. Building codes can be very, very confusing, so you have to spend some time going through them. One of the big things that we want to consider, I want to make you aware of, is egress. How do you get out of the building, whether it's normal traffic or if it's an emergency? And egress is just that: is how do you travel from any point within a building to the outside street or sidewalk. Okay. What are some things that will affect egress? Think about that for just briefly. Think about it as you walk through a building. What are things that affect how you could move through the building? And these are all some of the things that that affect it. Okay, water fountains that stick out, change in the floor surface. Okay, changing in elevation. Are there stairs? Is it a continuous flow? And what you will find in the building codes is that the egress requirements for a building are based on the occupancy load of that building. How many people are going to be in that building at any one time? How can they all leave the building simultaneously? And so that determines the size of your hallways, the number of doors that you have that lead outside, and things like that. Accessibility, when we talk about accessibility, this is handicap accessibility. Okay. The American with Disabilities Act, or the ADA, is not a building code, but it was a civil rights statute that came about in the late 1980s, early 1990s. And it basically changed building design so that wheelchair, deaf, and blind people had to have the same access as anyone else. Now, not every building is required to have that. There's a listing of what is required, what is not required. Okay, but your book will delve more into that. But I do want to make you aware of when you see the word accessibility in reference to architecture or building construction, it means the Americans with Disabilities Act or handicapped disadvantaged persons. Okay, so geographic influences affect our building codes. This particular image was of Galveston after Hurricane Ike, and that is the only structure that remained. And it was a test house that had been built a few years before to test hurricane-proof construction. And while there was some damage to it, you can see it held up very well compared to the neighbors. Okay, but all of these things will have a play into our building codes and how you will build in a particular geographic area. Kind of a summary of some of the things that we will be concerned with in this class is doors, exit doors. At least one door in a house must be 36 inches wide. Okay, in a sleeping room, a bedroom, the window has to meet all of these requirements. Okay, and this is so that a person, either a firefighter, can climb in the window, or a person that's inside trapped can climb out the window. Hallways must be a minimum width, stairs a minimum width, minimum headroom for the stairway. Okay, room sizes. A habitable room is a bedroom or a living room. Okay. Bathrooms are not considered habitable rooms. Okay. So they have a minimum size, a minimum ceiling height. Okay. All habitable rooms are supposed to have windows. They don't always follow that rule, especially in apartments. Most houses, most rooms will have a window. Okay, the kind of the guide, the amount of glazing, the amount of windows should be 8% of the floor area at a minimum, and half of the windows should be able to open for ventilation. If not, you have to have artificial lighting and ventilation. Okay. Come on, what happened to my mouse? There we go. Bathrooms and laundries are supposed to have windows, but they may have a fan instead. Each residence must have a toilet, sink, tub, or shower. They're connected to a sewer system. And then spacing for toilets. This is, the space from a tub or a wall or hand sink or something like that. So for a handicap accessible area, you got to have more space. Now the book goes into more detail on these um, requirements, but I just wanted to hit a few of the the big ones.